After watching The Phantom Menace or any of the Star Wars movies, have you ever wondered, wow, I wish I knew who Anakin Skywalker's father was? If you have, then you're not alone, because myself and I guess many others have asked this question over and over again in their minds: who could possibly be Anakin Skywalker's father? I know he was conceived out of the Force and he supposedly had this virginal birth, but that can't be possible. Who had to do with this kid's birth? How significant is it, and what role does it play overall in the Star Wars universe? Hopefully, over the course of this video, I'll be able to provide you with an answer that you find satisfying, even if you don't agree with it. So let's go ahead and begin with who I personally think Anakin Skywalker's father, or rather creator, is, and I hope you enjoy the video. So in the period of time I'm going to be referring to as the Star Wars off-season, that being the season in between the release of a new Star Wars film and the release of a new Star Wars trailer or TV show release, I have decided to take on one of my most ambitious projects yet, that being the crafting of a theory that might just describe the circumstances of Shmi Skywalker's virginal birth of Anakin Skywalker and who the boy's father, or rather creator, might be. To begin, we must travel back a ways and take a dark path where we find two Sith Lords together experimenting in unnatural ways of utilizing the Force, attempting to tame the Force and bend it to their will, rather than let it flow through them naturally. With these two Sith, we find the near culmination of Darth Bane's rule of two with Darth Sidious and his ambitious master, Darth Plagueis. Plagueis had a view of the galaxy that he not only wanted to obtain, but he wanted to be able to bend it to his will, similarly to the way he bended the Force. The wise Sith had cleverly manipulated the Republic and was able to place his very own apprentice, Sidious, into a position of power in the Galactic Republic, where from the shadows he could manipulate the galaxy to his will. But to obtain his goals, it needed a push. Plagueis and his apprentice were not yet powerful enough to gain control over the Senate and ensure that the Jedi could not stand in their way of ultimate power and domain over the galaxy. To acquire this push, Plagueis turned to the thing that had granted him his wishes and power in the past, the dark side of the Force. Through his meditation and study, Plagueis stumbled upon the thing that could grant him his wish, the midichlorians themselves. Fascinated, Plagueis delved deeper and deeper into his studies of the midichlorians, while his apprentice gained more favor and power within the Senate. After years of patience and sacrifice, Plagueis determined he had discovered not only the secret to obtaining power over the Republic, but possibly over life itself, which would conquer Plagueis' very own fear of death. It would be now when the Dark Lord of the Sith turned his view to a lowly slave woman in the Outer Rim, far from the reach of the Jedi, to begin his experiments and knock over the first domino that would culminate in the demise of the Jedi and the ultimate power returned to the Sith. For a long while, the Dark Lord manipulated the midichlorians to create life inside of the slave woman's body. In Plagueis' mind, he thought if he could successfully create a child born truly of the Force, he might have been able to transfer his life into the being, or at least use the child to gain control over the galaxy and the Republic. But Plagueis' experiments with the midichlorians were unnatural, and the Force fought back. Instead of creating a being of pure dark-side energy, the midichlorians also imbued the child with light, causing the perfect balance of the Force to be struck within the child. Although Plagueis had succeeded in creating a child born purely out of the Force, things had not gone as expected. Nonetheless, a child was born and was named Anakin Skywalker. It would be now that Plagueis would commit his biggest mistake, informing his apprentice of his creation. It would be then that his apprentice would betray him and supposedly kill his master, believing him to be a rival. But Sidious also made a mistake. He was unable to find the child after his master's defeat. Years later, Qui-Gon Jinn would stumble across the boy and bring him back to Coruscant to be trained as a Jedi, unknowingly bringing him back under the guise of the Sith. It would be now that Sidious, with all the pieces in place, including the boy that was destined to help him take over, would begin his plans for ultimate domination. Just a short little recap. The theory goes that Plagueis, through his manipulation of the midichlorians, created Anakin as a means to take control of the Republic. This would help explain Anakin's virginal birth and why Palpatine would have a passing knowledge of influencing the midichlorians to create life. He would have learned it from his master Plagueis. He would have some knowledge of the subject, but nowhere near the level of his master, which is why he would mention to Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis, of how he learned to create life, but ultimately Sidious himself never learned the secret. It would also explain the balance of the Force, as while Plagueis was willing Anakin to be made purely out of the dark side, the midichlorians and the Force itself willed him to have a light as well, thus creating balance in the Force. I love this theory because I find it truly ironic that the Sith's ultimate destruction would also originate from their need to obtain absolute power. It would of course all make sense with the Sith's plans being fulfilled with Anakin becoming Darth Vader and morphing the Republic into the Empire and putting all the cards into the Sith's hands, but also that Vader would be the one responsible for the destruction of the Sith after his duel with Luke in Return of the Jedi. So there you have it. There's the theory of why I think Anakin was created. I think he was created by Plagueis to be the key in being able to take over the Republic and, like I said earlier, give all the cards into the Sith's hands, but it didn't really work out because the Force, as always, had a plan for itself. I don't think that this stuff will be mentioned anywhere now that it's switched hands from Lucasfilms to Disney now, because they're really trying to stray away from the midichlorians, and I don't think that they'll go into this in future films or in any books or anything of real canon, basically. I don't think that they'll want to go into this. They're kind of trying to brush the prequels aside, so that's kind of my thinking as far as that goes. But hopefully one day we will get a concrete answer as to Anakin's birth and the circumstances surrounding it. But for the time being, I hope that this theory has satisfied you and at least answered a few questions that you may have had. If you enjoyed the theory, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Also subscribe. It means a lot. And may the Force be with you and have a great day.